Hello and welcome to Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And we're going to spend some time talking to you for hopefully less than an hour about stuff that we're knowledgeable about and we have particular interest in.
So before we get started, we're going to reintroduce ourselves since this will count as episode 1, the official episode start of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll go ahead and start with Kaylin.
I'm Kaylin Dixon, also known as Mars Girl, and again, you might know me from that guy with the glasses. And I tend to talk about animation and some of my favorite video game franchises, namely Final Fantasy, which I will further touch upon later on in this episode.
I'm Josh Knight the First. I am not on that guy with the glasses, but I do assist Kaylin every so often. My expertise is in acting, Japanese special effects shows, otherwise known as tokusatsu, and most things superhero over on this side of the world, be it movies, television, and what have you, and we'll get into some of that tonight.
Well, let's talk about some things going on amongst ourselves, actually, for a little bit, just so that people can start getting acquainted with us as time goes on. Actually, speaking of acting, I think something kind of nifty happened with you this week, huh?
Yes, I did mention last week that I was auditioning for something, and I actually did get a part. I got the lead in of Mice and Men. I'll be playing the part of George.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you. It's a role made, well, not famous, but done many times and done very well, I would say, by Gary Sinise. I'm very fond of his portrayal of it, and I just had my first read through today. Got to know the cast a little bit, and I'm looking forward to doing the show.
That is awesome.
And Kaylin, I believe you have a project you still have in the works coming up pretty soon?
Well, aside from, man, my Final Fantasy 13 video part 2 is so nearly done, and I've had other things just kind of get in the way, but until then, actually, if you guys want to check out our stream this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to try and...
Oh yeah, we got that coming up.
We're going to try and run that kind of back-to-back with the Super Bowl, but this is not Super Bowl related in the slightest.
Nope.
No, this is Ace Attorney related. Specifically, we're going to be doing the Wii version of the first Phoenix Wright game, and we're just going to do probably just the two of us, maybe if we can get anybody else in on it, just live. Just gonna try and live radio show this sucker.
It'll be the two of us, Super Bowl Sunday. Have we agreed on a time yet?
Well, do you know when the Super Bowl starts?
Maybe
we should have looked that up. I tell you what, I'm gonna have that information in the details section of the video. And if you decide to look that up currently,
which I might,
then I'll bring up the exact time again later on in this podcast.
At 5:30 Central, so we can start sometime around
5:30 Central.
Around 5:30 Central.
Okay.
So if you guys aren't busy cheering for the Ravens or the 49ers, come on into the stream. And, listen to some Ace Attorney.
Yep, and it's going to be particularly interesting when it's kind of just two people trying to cover for every single character in the game. It'll be a little hard. I'm going to try.
Just so you guys are aware, I'm going to do the male voices. Kaylin's going to do the female voices.
Well, maybe some really young male voices,
or some
too.
very young male voices, too.
I think I can cover some little boys pretty well. I should not say that.
No, you shouldn't.
Remind me never to say that ever again.
Don't say that. You could get in trouble. Let's get to work.
I'd like to kind of follow up on previous weeks. This is a segment that I'd like to do. Just follow up to what we've talked about either in the week before or something we've said in the past. In our first episode that we did, that wasn't really much of an episode. It was just kind of a proof of concept sort of thing. I had started talking about Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13. And I was specifically that week reading an article off Kotaku. And then I got into some discussions with people about whether or not they liked Final Fantasy 13. And as any of you might know, 13's just volatile. You say you like it, then you're gonna get somebody mad and with a polarizingly different opinion. You say you don't like it, then somebody's gonna rage back at you real hard too. Well, I ended up having a discussion with one guy, and I couldn't tell whether he was trying to defend it or not, but I thought by the end of it we came to an understanding. But then we had this discussion on our first demo podcast about it.
And we're just voicing opinion.
Oh, absolutely. We just we made the opinion that perhaps Lightning is so well liked because she's being shoved down people's throats because,
The promotion is there because Square Enix wants it to seem as such that that she's more out there than one would imagine.
So, I mean, I would totally agree with that. I'm not saying that it's impossible for someone to like Lightning. I just, I can't see it for myself, and I think it is more likely that Square Enix is kind of shoving her in people's faces. Well, I get this message from a particular individual, and I'm not so certain that I should necessarily say the individual's username.
However, if you want to look it up, it's all there on Kotaku to see for yourself.
This particular message was directed straight at me.
Oh, so nobody else can read it?
No, but I'm going to read part of it because at the end, what he asked me to do was read back everything he says to me in my review for Final Fantasy XIII, which, one, I'm not going to do because my Final Fantasy XIII review is already pre-written. It's just about set in stone. It's almost fully recorded even. So, no, I'm not going to do that. However, since he gave me that permission, I will read a majority of this message and then comment on it because it pertains directly to the podcast. And he writes, "I'm offended by your podcast on Lightning Returns. You honestly think I like Lightning because she's been shoved down my throat? No! You are wrong. I liked Lightning in 13 for the same reason I liked Saz, because they both acted like human beings." Now after this paragraph, okay, he proceeds to give me, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs worth of story and character development of Lightning. This is a very, very long message. It goes on with things like, Lightning loses her sister, and Snow acts like he knows what he's talking about, and despite her cold exterior, Lightning had no choice but to look after Hope, and then it's just paragraphs of this character development, and the final sentence in this one sentence paragraph is, "Please include everything I said for your review on Final Fantasy XIII to show that not all fans who like 13 are shallow and stupid."
Alright. Go.
Well, if you had watched my first episode of my Final Fantasy XIII review, I said that a lot of what I came up with was in fact opinion-based. And I very specifically said that you should not allow reviews and other people's opinions to dictate what your opinions are. That having been said, there is no reason why my opinion about what Lightning is or what Final Fantasy XIII is should offend you as a human being. I can't fathom why my opinion on fictional media would outwardly offend someone. And if you, as an individual, appreciate Lightning for some reason, that's okay. I don't. A lot of other people don't either. I don't know what your opinion is, Josh.
Well, no, I was never offended by Lightning. Granted, she wasn't the character I liked the most, but then there were characters I liked less than her, but I'm not going to get all in a huff over it.
No, I just don't think that there's a lot to her. However, there's characters that are far worse developed and underexplained than her.
Yeah.
It's just that,
I agree.
It's just that even within the Final Fantasy universe, she is among, in personal opinion, the least characterized and with the least motivation. And you can argue and shoehorn, she's got a sister and she's got, so much personal drama, and it's so poorly illustrated throughout Final Fantasy XIII. And again, everything we say is opinion-based. If you are offended by my opinion, I'm just telling you, you don't have to agree with it. So, if you want to get mad at me, okay, then maybe I will question whether or not you're either shallow or stupid or whatever, and that's what I wanted to follow up on. That was really everything. Actually, since I have gone on about that subject, I think I would like you to move on to your topic, to give me kind of a break.
All right, that's fine. I guess we didn't flat out announce it, but my topic this week is going to be on something that I have a bit of care about, which is Young Justice, a show that has been going on Cartoon Network for a bit of time now, and just recently, just within the last week or so, it was announced more or less that Cartoon Network does not plan to pick this up for a third season. Now, myself, along with a lot of other people that I've talked to, are very upset with this decision. Quite simply, Young Justice is some of the best cartooning, for lack of a better word. It's one of the best shows I've seen in a while. I try to make it a point to watch a bit of every iteration of DC or Marvel that they put out there. Some are better than others. I'll give an example. Quite similarly, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I think, is on the same tier as Young Justice. Excellent storytelling, excellent voice cast. They're bothering to expand the universe and bring people in and show people these other characters that you may not be aware of, which is really the kind of way you want to use a platform like a show like that. And for them to make this decision, mind you, a decision about an Emmy award-winning series boggles me. And I try to get through my head what exactly is going through Cartoon Network's mind when they make a decision like this, and you can come to several conclusions. I remember back to a couple of months ago to, I guess maybe a year ago, when Symbionic Titan was canceled. Again, another excellent show, which I'm glad that they are now rerunning on Toonami, on the Saturday night block. Unfortunately, as some of you may know, Symbionic Titan was canceled after one season. The primary reason for this given was that they couldn't market it. They couldn't make toys out of it. Now, admittedly, the design of the Titan was such that it was made with clear plastic and, to me, might have been harder to produce. But that seems like to me anyway, a very shallow reason for canceling something with excellent storytelling, writing, something that makes you feel for the characters being presented.
Did it make money?
But no, I understand, of course, that's the bottom line. You gotta make money. Which brings me to Young Justice, which had a toy line, had a Happy Meal line over at McDonald's, and still is getting canceled.
Did it make money?
Well, I would believe so. I can't seem to find any solid numbers on ratings at the moment, and that might be just my own, I'll admit my own ineptitude in doing the homework on it, but from a personal standpoint, I see nothing wrong with this series. And in the last couple of days, it's been noted, if you go to change.org, there has been a petition to keep Warner Brothers from canceling both it and Green Lantern the animated series.
Yeah, but people just sort of throw around petitions like it's water, you know?
Yes, but a petition still shows the heart that the fan community has for a particular property. It clearly has been shown. I mean, Star Wars was saved by petitions. I mean, Star Trek, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Star Trek was saved from cancellation by petitions, and history tells the rest of that story.
Yeah, but at one given point in time, petitions meant something. Now with the advent of the internet, petitions don't mean nearly as much as they once did, because anybody can start a petition for any dumb little thing and then just chainmail it to anybody or spam it across Facebook walls.
Then I guess as a point of discussion on this in particular, what would you say would be the appropriate means to show people, or to show the network, Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers, I guess, Warner Brothers Animation, that people still want to see the show on the air?
It would be to be a little bit more direct, like the way people have worked with Nintendo in the past. For example, the Mother franchise, the Mother series, which we know over here as Earthbound. For the longest time, people were trying to bring over the first Mother and Mother 3. And there was a petitioning, yes, but then there was a solid week of specifically calling and faxing Nintendo and saying, now we have to do this right, and everybody has to do it only once, and only once a day. I mean, they could do it multiple times throughout the week, but they had to be very polite, very cordial, and apparently, from what Nintendo says, had they kept it up, very likely they would have brought Mother over, but they didn't. However, things like that have now since worked with groups like Operation Rainfall. They had 3 games on their list. Pandora's Tower, The Last Story, and Xenoblade Chronicles. All 3 of which have now been brought over to the United States.
Now, I counter that with, I have the petition here right in front of me, and you have the option of course, signing it, but you can also leave comments on what you think of the certain thing you're petitioning on.
Comments are for that petition. That's not specifically calling the company, faxing the company, directly emailing people. It's not the same thing, and it's not the most direct thing. I think people put too much hope and heart into a petition that means nothing.
But all the same, I will admit I have signed the petition myself in hopes that this does end up evoking some sort of change. If there is a better route for doing this, then by all means I'll go ahead and do that. I do believe that this show deserves a 3rd season. Now, to bring up an extra point with that, quite similarly to Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes not being picked up for an extra season, some believe that this is due to the fact that Disney Marvel has another set of shows coming up, Avengers Assemble, and another season of Ultimate Spider-Man coming up, which admittedly are said to be a little less mature in tone as far as the stories they're going to tell. And quite similarly over here with Cartoon Network, with Young Justice being dropped, we also have a new season of Teen Titans entitled Teen Titans Go, and Beware the Batman, also done by Genndy Tartakovsky, coming this fall. And there has been talk that the reason they haven't picked up Young Justice is because they want to put promotional power towards these 2 new properties. Now, I'm saying what some other people have said is that why can't these shows coexist?
That's too much work for this one studio's set of hands.
Well, I mean, Warner Brothers Studio, but are you talking about the animation portion?
Yeah, the animation studio.
But they're being animated by... let me double check that, because I don't want to get that wrong, but I'm fairly certain they're being animated by 3 different studios.
Would you want to spend money in, 3 different places at once?
If the money was making money.
Probably isn't making money. If they probably would not be making this decision if they were making enough money. But even then, that draws back to the point of, since it's all about the money, then how do we get quality on TV? That's
I know you can laugh at it, but it's an honest-to-goodness question.
No, I don't laugh because I think that that's a dumb question. I laugh because it's sad.
It is sad.
I laugh because it's sad, because it's hard to get... Because people are really attention deficit. They will not pay attention to things. And this is the broad scope sort of sense, mind you. This is not the you've been diagnosed with ADHD sort of sense. This is that human beings are easily distracted and want to see bright colors and loud noises and lots of different things and will not stop to engage themselves in an overarching story. Like, if they miss one episode, then they, give up, as opposed to watching a series that is episodic and just everything is self-contained in a single episode.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, but
it is so much easier to make money that way. And I know, I hate that. I know. I'm right there with you. I just realize why they make those decisions. And it doesn't make me happy. It absolutely doesn't.
It doesn't make me happy either, which is why, I want to do my part. I want to see if I can pick up what's left of the few figures that were out there. If they do make a full omnibus, because personally I don't like that they put out the series in these little, few episode at a time packs, but I do want to support the series. Granted, I haven't always been there to watch the initial airing, but I've caught reruns. when they and the few just this month when they've been showing it on Saturday mornings. I want to support quality, and it's hard when quality doesn't have a chance against something that makes more money and might not be as I guess in depth as some other things.
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate.
I guess that's really the point I'm trying to get across. And to wrap that up, some people might look on the outside and say, well, what's the difference between, for somebody who doesn't know, what's the difference between Young Justice and Teen Titans? And admittedly, Teen Titans did have an overarching story, stuff they went into with Raven's father, Robin's relationship with the rest of the team and whatnot. And that was fine, but I got a completely different feel between that and over here and, say, Superboy's relationship with Miss Martian, and it wasn't just some angsty teen drama. There was an actual legitimate reason why, no, you're doing things I don't like. I don't want to get into spoilers for some people who haven't watched yet, but getting into the depths of that, or understanding loss that some of these characters feel from their mentors having died, or fellow teammates having gone before them in battle and carrying that on with them, or even wanting to get out of the superhero life at all. I don't think these are topics that are often covered, and I praise Young Justice for the work that it has done, and should it be saved, then you better believe I'll be there watching season 3.
Buy our toys! Buy our toys! Buy our toys!
Okay.
I think that's the only way to save a TV series anymore, is to buy 80 bajillion of its toys.
Well, that's my piece on Young Justice. Kaylin, we're going to go ahead and shoot back to you. You got some a little bit of tech news here.
Well, for gamers, yes. Because I'm reading now that today it's just been reported exactly when Sony will reveal more on their next PlayStation, which has been codenamed as the Orbis for a bit. And on February 20th, Sony's gonna do a live-streamed announcement on more details on this PlayStation 4 or Orbis or whatever they're gonna go with. There's a believe about a 40-second-ish teaser video that Sony has revealed, and it tells you absolutely nothing other than February 20th, come to our website and we're going to tell you stuff, basically. Lots of shiny black and square, circle, triangle X's flying around all over the place. So that's something to be looking forward to, and it's just kind of admittedly impressive how long this generation of consoles has lasted, because the PlayStation 3 was released in 2006. Mm-hmm. So we've been sitting on this one console for a long time, and I didn't.
What is that, 6-7 years now?
Yeah, and I didn't necessarily think that. I don't know if we're pushing the console as hard as it can possibly go. I can argue the 360 is being pushed to its limits at this point, because actually it came out a year before all of its competition. It's been out the longest, and the PS3 definitely, what with having the technology of Blu-ray, is far more capable of doing a lot more things. So this new Orbis, or whatever you're gonna want to call it, some people
PlayStation 4.
PlayStation maybe. 4. But I'm gonna call it the Orbis, because people love hype code names like that.
Please, it's just the PlayStation 4.
So they've, this has been leaked for a little over a week now, I'd say, but they're talking about this dev kit, and this is just a development kit with all these specs. So it's not the final Orbis or PlayStation 4 or what have you, but they're talking about like 8 gigs of memory, 2.2 gigs of video memory. The CPU is 4X dual-core AMD bulldozer. So, again, Blu-ray and 160 gigs of hard drive space. We don't know what the controller is going to look like. And again, these are all just nothing but specs for the development kit. So early developers, just like any generation of consoles, if this is just what the development kit looks like, and then the system pushes over these specs, just like any launch of any other console, the new games that we get will look awesome to us right now, but later on down the road, as this console has been out for a year, 2 years, games will probably look way more awesome than we can picture right now. But, 8 gigs of RAM is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I was thrilled that my laptop had 8 gigs of RAM and is PC gaming capable, far better than what my last PC was, and so it's just kind of exciting, I suppose.
Now you talk about this new generation of consoles. As far as my understanding goes, are we talking about, I guess, PlayStation 3 being the end of a generation and this being the next generation for everybody? Like, we'll have what?
I dare say that the Wii U was the start of the next generation, and it got the jump on everybody. Like, the 360 was the launch of this generation of consoles.
Uh-huh.
It was the first one in this generation. There was already an Xbox, then they made their upgrade. There was already a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2. Moving up to the PlayStation 3 put Sony into this generation of consoles, and the same with the Wii, moving up from the GameCube to the Wii.
So this will be those two moving up. I say those two, the Wii U and now this Orbis.
And really, supposedly, Microsoft is going to reveal their next-gen console, which I guess some people are calling the 720, but
I don't think they'll go with that.
I don't think it works that way.
Well, I think there's something to be said about the fact that, in comparison, the 360 has, as you say, been pushed as hard as it has, because I think, in specific, Microsoft has been able to utilize it, I would say, better than the other two platforms.
Well, they definitely have a better network and better customer service. Well, okay, better in some areas, worse in others.
Right.
Because, you have a live service that you get what you pay for. Sony's service, you can do things for free, but it's just kind of whereas Xbox Live is like, you can do all these different things on Xbox Live, and for the most part, nothing crashes, it's not difficult to communicate and game with your friends. Xbox Live usually is worth it if you can afford to pay for it.
Now, compared to the Wii U, which just debuted not too long ago, what is this going to need to have in terms of user interface in order to compete with what the Wii U is capable of?
In terms of user interface? Like, you mean in comparison to the Wii U tablet?
Yes, like what I'll phrase it this way. What would the average Joe Schmo need to see this thing do in order to want to purchase this thing?
Gosh, I mean, the PlayStation 3, as well as really the handheld consoles too, the PSP and the Vita, have very clean navigation sort of systems as it is. If it wants to compete with the Wii's audience, then it has to be way gimmicky. And I don't see the PS3 being way gimmicky.
Now, define what you mean here by gimmicky.
Come on, a tablet is totally a gimmick.
Admittedly, though, the tablet is quite entrancing when actually used.
Yeah, if it's used for not stupid games like that Ninja whatever in Nintendo Land, where all you do is just sort of rub the tablet a whole, kind of like that iPad game that Square Enix came out with that Final Fantasy game that they just released, where all you do is just rub the screen over and over again and then win battles.
Screen, I pet the cat, and I managed to beat monsters that way, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, anyway, if it's just like the Wii was when it was initially released. Waggle technology could be good if utilized properly. That tablet has the potential to be awesome, and already has been utilized very well in certain games. Zombie U is very intriguing, where you have to look down at your tablet as if looking into your bag, and you need to look at it, and stuff is still going on the screen, but you're so busy looking at your inventory that it's like you're actually looking into a bag and having to look around and be panicky over zombies.
Would you agree then that all this power that the Orbis is proclaiming to have will mean nothing unless they can find some way to utilize it properly?
Oh, well, yeah, that's true of any console, but at the same time, Nintendo and the Wii and the Wii U have been so focused on innovation. You know, the Reggie marketing scheme, okay?
Oh, don't get me started.
You know, this is about innovation. It is the new way for you and your family to game together, all at the manufacturer's suggested retail price of however much a Wii U is these days, and depending on which model.
So what you're telling me is what will sell the Orbis to the average Joe Schmo is Reggie.
Too
is that
bad.
What you're telling me?
Well, Reggie would have to jump ship from Nintendo to Sony.
He can't.
Also, I don't foresee either Sony or Microsoft getting that gimmicky. The closest either one got was with the Move and the Kinect, and even then, they just aren't nearly as pushed as much as, look at all the people in these Nintendo commercials flailing their arms everywhere, and we're having fun and playing games as a family.
Personally, I would think, as far as that goes, I prefer the Kinect to waggling a Wiimote.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but that's as far as that goes. As far as what is the Move?
Yeah.
That just felt like a knockoff of the Wii.
Oh, but absolutely. I mean, it also had potential, but it really, nobody wanted to utilize it, and on top of that, Sony and Microsoft have become the hardcore companies as far as gamers are concerned. Nintendo has this look to them as though they're the safe, family-friendly console, and Microsoft, the 360 and the PS3 have been, this is where hardcore gamers go to play games with other real men on the internet and then teabag them in the face. Woo!
I'm not denying that, no.
So, I don't necessarily think that Sony and Microsoft need to worry about their image when it comes to competing with Nintendo. They just have to keep doing what they're doing and selling to a completely different audience who doesn't care about Nintendo games. Now there's some gamers like myself who care about this broad scope of gaming. So, really, it just depends on the game. All I care about is a good game going to be released for the PlayStation 4-bis? Or
the 4-bis.
I'm gonna call it the 4-bis.
Yeah, you have just now coined the term the 4-bis.
The PlayStation 4-bis. Or is there going to be some other game that's really awesome that I would far prefer to play on the Wii U? Here's a hint, Nintendo. If you bring Dragon Quest X over to the States, I will buy it. And if there's another Sony game coming out that same month, I will not buy whatever that is. I will buy Dragon Quest X first.
So, long story short, would you say that the deck is stacked against PlayStation?
No.
No?
No.
So you see them as being very capable in this venture out with the 4-bis?
Yeah, I would say so. Okay. I don't really know much about what Microsoft is planning for themselves. Supposedly they'll be coming out with information shortly too. I don't know whether or not they're going to try and go head-to-head with information about the PlayStation 4-bis, but...
Well, only time will tell with that.
I mean, what's interesting is the way they're planning on sharing data with one another as far as this new PlayStation is concerned. You've got local accounts with save data, and then Sony Entertainment Network account data, and then you can save that data specifically to your own controllers. So it sounds like you can then take your controller to somebody else's house and sync it up with the console, and your data will be there synced with your controller.
Say if I'm playing Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 5 somewhere down the road, if I've unlocked all my characters, my friend hasn't, I can take my controller from my house, take it over to my friend's house, plug in there, or sync up there, and I will have access to my characters.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's hard drive sort of unlocked information. What we're talking about here is like your username, your
like awards
your
and things
your
like that?
avatar, your awards, yeah,
Okay.
and then transferring that information between consoles. Not like save data for games or anything like that.
Because for a second there, I guess I was getting the false impression that, being able to do that I could kind of see as being a little nifty, but...
Although I see this little save data bubble down here to the right, and I don't know if that means save data can be taken from one console to another. I guess we'll find out.
Basically turning your controller into an oversized USB drive.
It's kind of what it sounds like, just wireless.
So, yeah, that is something that would intrigue me and make me want to think about purchasing it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's about it for now. I didn't know whether or not the next topic we wanted to talk about was going to be a follow-up to the last week's episode that we did, but it feels like we need to talk about it again.
Yeah.
I guess we've really gotten into King of the Nerds.
Specifically, I guess we're going to go ahead and talk about the second episode, which would have aired a week ago from today, and tonight there'll be a new episode, and we'll talk about that next week,
more than likely. But this one specifically was very relevant to our interests.
Very up our alley. So right off the bat, something that's very close to my interests is that the focus of this particular episode, at least the first half, was on cosplay.
So they say.
Or so they say. And, I'm gonna let you talk first, because I need to get this together in my head.
Well, it's just that they say cosplay, and then they kind of vaguely explain what cosplay is, and they kind of show on the screen for a second that it's a combination of the words costume and play. They don't mention its origins or anything, that it came from a Japanese magazine publisher or whatever trying to comment on what all this costuming nonsense was. But, cosplay means it really should mean that you've taken this character that already pre-exists, and then you dress up as them because you want to represent this thing that doesn't exist and bring it into real life. But what they were kind of doing seemed more like, not LARPing, but...
Well, close to it. I mean,
granted... it was more role-playing, though.
Well, indeed, because of the nature of the contest.
It was Iron cosplay, except they didn't have any characters they were basing themselves off of.
Well, the thing about that is that, to a certain extent, there is a lot of acceptance for, original characters and things of that nature, but yes, in the way it was presented to them, make your own costume, you've only got a day, yes, that is very much... You could compare that to Iron cosplay. For some people, I know that is what you can make a costume in a whole day if you have all the right materials and the right motivation. But the thing about it was that when it came down to, I thought it was interesting, in specific, the contestant Virgil, when he was talking about his experience with cosplay, was that he didn't costume very much, but he knew a lot of female friends dressing up as male characters, and that's about as much as he knew.
Well, he said he knew a lot of female friends. They dressed up as men, and then they went and they made out with one another as girls dressed as men. Which I thought was amusing, because it's very commonly seen. But, yeah, I can see how when phrased that way, and you see this really wide, far-away look in his eyes...
Yeah, that...
I can see when you phrase it that way, you're a little hesitant, like, cosplay is kind of freaky, ain't it?
It's like, no, you guys...
They were portraying it very, very stereotypically uncool.
And I personally, as a cosplayer, I don't think it's uncool. I think it's probably one of the best hobbies you could have. I mean, granted, there are some drawbacks if you let too much of it eat you, but it's a very, for me anyway, very well-utilized creative outlet.
Very expressive, yeah.
But the thing that ended up happening was, okay, first you gotta take into account that they split up into two teams, orange and blue. Orange has to come up with their own characters that are fantasy world villains. Blue comes up with sci-fi heroes. And what ends up happening is that, without question, the orange team whoops so hard in both storytelling and costuming on the blue team, which really looked like, sad to say, the
worst of every cosplay show you have ever seen in your life, where everyone is their own original character. They do their bad scripts without pre-recorded audio, and some of them for some reason seem to think that song and dance numbers are the same thing as doing a skit. They're not. There's a difference between a cosplay stage show and show and tell and
a talent
show.
Now, in slight defense, there are certain cases where song and dance makes sense in the... No, I will stand to that point to this day, that there are cases where that makes sense.
Song and dance is not a skit.
It can be. It can be. Hear me out here. It can be, but what she was doing was just embarrassing.
No, I was secondhand embarrassed all over the place. All the freak over the place. You know what? One thing we didn't mention before, and we failed to mention it in audio last time, is that...
before we forget that.
I just want to mention it briefly, is that, and we brought it up in a little text bubble for those of you who read, but Danielle, I failed to mention, actually was previously on the tester, and she uses the name Trade Chat. Trade Chat being a World of Warcraft term specifically for a certain channel of chat, usually where people just sort of talk about nothing and it's really annoying in there.
Now, admittedly...
and she's a huge WoW head, is what I'm saying. So
that showed in her costume, though.
Oh, yeah. She wanted to be a blood elf real bad. Real bad. Well, I guess it looked like she was a blood elf.
Or at least there was a definite influence there. And... But then we get these judges, two of which being George Takei, who,
is George Takei
no matter where he goes, and also Yaya Han, who has been known in the cosplay community for quite some time now for two very large things. one being her amount of time in the community and her costuming ability.
Of course. Nothing else, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, just wanted to get that clear.
Okay, yeah, just making sure.
No, she's quite reputable. I don't necessarily have to say what sort of reputation. I mean, you can kind of take that one way or the other. I really don't. It depends on who you talk to. But she's been cosplay guests and judge for cons all over the places for years.
So again, that lends to the credibility of the show. This is definitely somebody who has judged costumes before. But really, they didn't give them too much to work with because, like I said, it was very obvious who had their stuff together.
Well, it also wasn't as though they were judging, like, craftsmanship at Anime Expo or something, where somebody took their Trinity Blood costume with every single little immaculate detail and every single little petticoat and everything, which took a painstaking 300 hours to create. This was not that. This was not that in the slightest. Though there was some fire.
Yeah, that was nice.
And
lighting her sword on fire. But the thing that I find is funny is that the orange team wins, and what do they reward them with? Not with, awesome swag, you guys win 3DSs, or you guys get, free, $50 gift cards to GameStop. No, what do they give them? Hot and Ready's from Little Caesars.
$5.
$5.
Stacks of $5 pizzas. Not even real big stacks either.
No, it was like 3 pizzas, enough to feed them, and some wings.
Also Hot and Ready.
Also Hot and Ready wings.
So they were just like, oh god, what do? We didn't actually plan a prize. Alright, we've got one guy and about an hour and a half. Go to the nearest Little Caesars and just grab food now. Now, just go. And then they
present it to them, and they're completely thankful.
They're thrilled. Admittedly, I guess I would have been too, because I would have been hungry after that.
And admittedly, we've had... I've been a consumer of Hot and Ready's for years.
We just ate Hot and Ready's tonight.
Yeah, no more than an hour ago. We just had
hot and ready.
And we just had the wings earlier this week. Okay, yeah. I can't lie that was an acceptable
what does that speak to? It speaks to the fact that they know who their core audience and their contestants are, and they know that nerds, while you could just lavish them with stuff, they're also not terribly difficult to please.
Right.
I mean, is that good or is that bad?
I don't know, because it's kind of you money grubbing jerks, but I'm still eating this.
You got us right on the money, didn't you? Well,
thanks for the wings, while I shake my fist at you.
Well, then following that, if not before that, I'm not really sure which, I can't remember, was that you're going to learn how to battle with a swordstress, or whatever they were calling her.
Oh, the sword training they got, which showed absolutely no sword training. It was just like the worst, what you absolutely do not want to let happen with any form of steel and novices.
I'm a little bit surprised that they just let them have at it with each other. Like, they showed the lady, they showed her doing fancy poses with her sword, then everybody came in the room, right? And when they come in the room, she's like, alright, start putting armor on. And once they had armor on, they just started beating each other with live steel. And there was like no, okay, you're supposed to come in like this, and a good defensive maneuver would be this and that. There was none of that.
That I take as a propaganda piece right there, because of the fact that they just let them nerdily wail on each other, as opposed to, like I say this because I've taken stage combat, I've done a little bit of martial arts, and I've done a little bit of staging myself. Do not just let people, especially since one of them was not wearing a proper helmet, just let loose with even the bluntest blade can still cut.
Well, even anime conventions have, Chris eras do the combat for stage.
Right.
For cosplay stage performances. People care about that, because people should not go up on stage and just act like they know what they're doing, because people get hurt, and there's a reason why. And then you end up looking
like Star Wars kid.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what these guys looked like crazy armor-covered Star Wars kids.
Well, anyway, as a result of the contest, you have another nerd off between Alana and John. And
Alana being her one claim to fame is how big of a fan of Batman she is, and John being the pink-haired guy who likes to rock a lot.
No, John is just described as that's all he did. The whole episode was
Didn't he say either his character name or the place he was from was called
No, I think that was the place he was from was called It's not even the cool Colossus It's not that. It was just the guttural
Well, yeah, the death metal sort of
which makes me just go But, like, okay, to begin with, let either one of them get rid of them. I don't really care about either one of these guys, because John doesn't seem to really have brought anything to the show, and Alana, in specific, reminds me of certain people I've had the unfortunate instance of having conversations with at conventions. It's like, oh, I don't want to
Or even in Japanese class.
Or even in Japanese Well, okay, not exactly Japanese class, but I get where you're coming from with that. It's like, no, why did I start talking to you? Why are you talking to me?
Oh no, now she's showing you her fan fiction.
No.
Oh, look what you've unleashed.
No, I gotta go. I got class in a minute. I really can't stay for this.
Okay, I'll send you a message on MSN.
Oh god, you still use MSN.
Oh, and she's sending you messages on MSN, and she uses that purple flourishy sort of font?
No. Don't want to talk to you. And then it's like they have this game, which is a combination of trivia and rolling these giant, like, foam D20s.
Yeah, I sort of was
in a bowling manner.
Like, all the stuff was very nerdy looking, but like it served no purpose for the D20 to be a D20 other than the fact that it made it more difficult to roll.
Now, admittedly, they're asked 4 different trivia questions, and as far as the reach of these questions, Yes, those were nerdy questions. They weren't like stupid like, what's the name of Han Solo's ship? No, they were actual legitimate questions that you would have to know some stuff about.
Yeah, what is the language that Wookiees speak?
How many Chronicles of Narnia books are there? Things like that.
I wasn't entirely certain that Narnia was a nerd-related sort of thing.
Oh, it's fantasy.
Yeah, I suppose, but it was like, my parents knew what Narnia was, they're just kind of sort of common.
Well, I would see it as being somewhat slightly nerdy.
I guess so.
It to the average person falls into that realm of, okay, it's a book about talking lions and snow witches and
making parallels to Christianity.
Well, yeah, but even then, it's still fantasy.
All right.
But again, getting to the point of this, somehow miraculously Alana survived by that weird fluky stop of the dice and then going in a completely other direction to knock over all these other, well, I'll just call them bowling pins. And it's like,
well, they were mannequins that were rated with a certain number of points. You, of course, get the most points and you win.
Right. And it was like, oh, we're so glad you're still on the show, said no one ever.
I don't necessarily want to be mean, especially because she's in the public light, it's like, I don't know, something in me feels like, no, there's got to be something more to this person, and I don't necessarily...
But you say that knowing the type of person that they're portraying, and I don't think they're necessarily acting.
I know, and some part of me deep inside wants to find something in there that's worth it, and wants to make it shine so badly. And we cannot have been shown what she's especially good at yet. We can't. And yet somehow she's still there. I don't know what to think.
Well, you can say as much as this. Despite her little bit of luck, you wouldn't want to talk to her.
Not right off the bat, no. I know that sounds horrible.
And then what are you gonna say? She has a wonderful personality?
I don't know. I don't know because I haven't gotten to know her.
All right.
Because I didn't want to talk to her.
Exactly.
I don't know what to say. It sounds so bad.
No, I know. And admittedly, just from my whole standpoint, overarching for the whole show, whoever does win this thing, I hope that they are able to portray this title that is given to some people with these interests of nerd in a light other than something that is not the most flattering. And I think we've said that before, and I think we will continue to say that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, I guess that's all we have to talk about. In fact, we filled up quite a bit of time, and surprisingly so. I thought that maybe I wouldn't necessarily get very far with a couple of the topics. But I'm glad you guys were able to listen in as long as you did. So, again, to just reiterate, we're going to try and make this weekly. And again, we're going to do our Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney live stream. I didn't mention the exact address before, but hopefully if you were listening earlier, you saw down in the description, because I'm going to be putting it there. But it's going to be over on twitch.tv/MarsGirl, and that's going to start at 5:30 p.m.
Central Time
on Super Bowl Sunday, and that's, what, the 3rd or the 4th? I can't remember which day of the week that is.
That will be on the 3rd.
The 3rd. Okay, that's, Super Bowl Sunday, February 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/MarsGirl. We're live voice acting Ace Attorney.
Phoenix Wright.
Yes. Other than that, I guess that's about it. Follow us on Twitter if you would like. I'm at MarsGirlProd, short for MarsGirl Productions.
And I'm at JoshKnight1ST. Of course, it would mean the first. But I guess that's all the time we have for this week. I'm Josh Knight the First.
And I'm MarsGirl, and, well, thanks for listening to us once again, and come back for us next week.
We'll see you then.
Take care.